Hello dears, this is class number 2 about the neurogenic bladder dysfunctions. In today's class, we can discuss about the physiology of voiding. In the last class, we have discussed about the anatomy of bladder and urethra in detail. We have also mentioned the complex circuits between the brain, spinal cord and lower urinary tract. In today's class, we can look into the basics of the voiding physiology. For understanding the pathology of bladder dysfunctions, we should have a basic idea regarding normal physiology. For understanding physiology clearly, we have to know little more about urothelium, submucosal layer or the lamina propria and the detrusor. The neural circuits present in the central nervous system have switch-like function. This enables the bladder to function alternately between the urine storage and voiding. To the switch-like function of the micturition reflex pathway. During urine storage, a low-level efferent activity activates the efferent input to the urethral sphincter, and this causes contraction of the urethral sphincter. Whereas during bladder distension, a high level of efferent activity is induced, and this activates the switching circuit in the central nervous system, producing firing in the efferent pathways to the bladder, causing contraction of the bladder and inhibition of the efferent outflow to the sphincter, causing voiding of urine. Now we can look into urothelium. We can see that the urothelium is permeable to sodium, potassium, chloride ions, urea and water. The main role of the urothelium is it provides defense against the pathogenic bacterial infections and it modulates the detrusor muscle contraction. It also gives efferent signaling to the spinal cord. The urothelium have the property similar to that of sensory neurons, that is because of nociceptors and mechanoreceptors, which can detect the mechanical and chemical stimuli. When the urothelial cells are activated by stimulation, they releases chemical mediators like nitric oxide, ATP, acetylcholine and substance P. These agents have excitatory or inhibitory actions on the efferent nerves that are close to the urothelium, either directly or indirectly through an action on the suburothelial cells that lies close to the efferent nerves. So, both the urothelial and suburothelial cells participate in sensory mechanisms in the urinary tract. The urothelium also releases prostaglandins, urothelium-derived inhibitory factors, prostacyclins, etc. Now, looking into the diagram which shows the lamina propria with blood vessels. The lamina propria is recently considered as the functional center for the localized control of the bladder and which coordinates the activities of urothelium and detrusor muscles. The lamina propria or the submucosal layer lies under the basement membrane of the urothelium. The lamina propria contains diffuse plexus of unmyelinated nerve fibers, blood vessels, myofibroblasts, collagen, elastic fibers, proteins, etc. The myofibroblasts modulates the physiological interaction between the urothelium and the detrusor smooth muscle. This is a picture showing the myofibroblasts. The myofibroblasts or the suburothelial interstitial cells are actually seen below the basal layer of urothelium, which we have already discussed. Substances released from the basal layer such as ATP and acetylcholine will activate the efferents in the suburothelial layer through the intermediation of myofibroblast, which expresses purinergic P2Y receptors, muscarinic M2 and M3 receptors, or capsaicin TRV1 receptors, and they are connected one to one by gap junction proteins. It is proposed that myofibroblasts have pacemaker role for the contraction of the bladder. Now looking into the pacemaker activity of the interstitial cells. This picture shows interstitial cells in the detrusor muscle layers. These cells are not contractile, but they are pacemakers with a spontaneous activity, and they can propagate signals between the detrusor muscles. They contain tyrosine kinase inhibitor receptors or KIT receptors, muscarinic receptors M3, and it also produces prostaglandins. Now moving to normal micturition. We all know that the normal micturition has got two phases, a filling or storage phase and an emptying or voiding phase. First we can look into the filling phase. We all know that the bladder gets filled with urine from the kidneys, which are passed through the ureters. For smooth filling of the bladder, the detrusor must relax and the sphincter must contract. During filling of the bladder, the viscoelastic behavior of the bladder depends on two things. One is neuromuscular and other is mechanical properties. First, we can look into the neuromuscular properties. As the bladder fills, the low intravesical pressure is maintained by a progressive increase in the sympathetic stimulation of beta receptors located in the body of the bladder and stimulation of alpha receptors located at the base of the bladder and urethra that causes contraction. So, detrusor will be in the relaxed state and sphincter will be in the contracted state. Sympathetic stimulation also inhibits the parasympathetic stimulation, which helps in suppressing the bladder contraction. Third is the increased external urethral sphincter activity also reflexly inhibits the bladder contractions. This is the somatic stimulation. Now we can look into the mechanical properties. The mechanical properties are extremely sensitive to the tissue structure and composition of the bladder wall. Apart from smooth muscles, the normal bladder contains 50% of collagen. What happens in spinal cord is that the collagen content increases, so the bladder complaints will get decreased in spinal cord injuries. During filling, the bladder reorganizes and muscle bundles shift position from top to bottom to a side-to-side configuration. The type 3 collagen, which connects the muscles orthogonally, becomes extended, longer and taut and gets oriented parallel to the lumen. So, the bladder wall gets thinned during filling. Now we can look into the emptying or the voiding phase. The voiding actually depends on the neurally mediated detrusor contraction. There will be inhibition of the spinal sympathetic and the somatic pathways, and there will be activation of the parasympathetic pathways also. Initially, there will be a decrease in the outlet resistance mediated by the cessation of the sympathetic and somatic reflexes. And second is there is a relaxing factor will be released by the parasympathetic stimulation, and third is by some effect of bladder smooth muscle contraction itself. This is followed by highly coordinated parasympathetic induced contraction of the detrusor muscles with shaping or funneling of the relaxed outlet. There will be amplification and facilitation of bladder contraction from other peripheral reflexes and from the supraspinal sources also. So complete voiding occurs. This is a picture showing the motor sensory network in the detrusor muscle. This was proposed by Gillespie. The network contains green sensory fibers and red motor fibers next to the detrusor myocytes and intradetrusor interstitial cells. The detrusor muscle has spontaneous activity and they are also having the spontaneous smooth muscle contractions which trigger the sensory signals to the host. This increase in spontaneous activity will be interpreted as urgency episode. With this, we are coming to the end of this section. Thank you. Next class will be about the pathology and classification systems of neurogenic bladder dysfunctions.